talk about that.
It's dark down here. It's quite...
Thank you all for coming. Have you all had a really good show today? Yeah. Will you all be coming back next year? Yeah. Excellent, thank you. We've had over 1,000 people here today, which is fantastic. It's the highest we've had in the 4 years we've been doing the show. So thank you very much indeed. By the time this seminar finishes, the show will be closed. And when we leave here, if you can out through the back door and then down the steps to the right where I am looking at it from here, it will take you out. Just because there'll be a lot of people unloading in the main hall. If you've got stuff in the cloakroom, then you can of course turn left and go back through to the cloakrooms, but if you don't need to, it'd be very much appreciated if you could just head out down through the right, because it just avoids the chaos and confusion in the main hall. Thank you for that. Let me introduce you to Robin Vincent, who you've probably seen from this morning's session. Hello. Who will be talking with a guy called Gerald.
Hello. 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 So basically, like what I'm going to show you is like how I would approach doing live. Well, it's kind of live in a way because it's sequenced, most of it, but semi-live. Like, and also, I've made everything so that I can go into a situation like, and I actually have done impromptu. I can just like jump in, and all I would have to do is give a stereo feed to whoever, preferably not to not a DJ mixer. I mean, it would be nice to go to a line mixer or like a front of house desk or something like that. But anyway, this is the setup I usually use, because nowadays, I mean, most people turn up with a memory stick, and I think like spinning from one CDJ to another CDJ, they call that live. So it confuses the hell out of me. And like in the late 80s and the early 90s, I used to turn up with like bags and bags full of drum machines and stuff like that. But, like, you need like acres and acres of space for that kind of thing. And understanding people at airports that don't think that you're going to build drum machines. Anyway, so like what I'm using is Reason on one computer, sorry about that, and I'm using Reason on the other computer, and I've got them going into a Rain NP15 mixer via USB, so it's like all digital. And like on the Rain, you've got like this crossover at the top, which basically is like my favourite thing in the world, because I can kind of tune the mixer to nearly any type of sound. I mean, like speaker system or whatever, like in some clubs, the speakers are set in one way, and others it's in another way, and like with this I can kind of mould it into the sound I want more than with any other kind of mixer that I've used. I mean, like, maybe there's another way of doing it. Thank you. I've actually gone from using like a big mixing desk. Sometimes I use a mixing desk, usually like a Midas or something like that. If I'm doing if it's a gig where they've actually said they want, well, I've got 3 types of gigs that I would do. One is just like supposedly like DJ type gig, and this is like the middle gig I do called live in session, which I use 2 laptops and sometimes varied like synths and stuff like that. And then I have another gig I'd call live in analog, where everything is totally analog. And for that I would probably use the Rain. I mean, for that I would use the Midas, and I would go in basically maybe mono or stereo, depending on the drum machines or keyboards or whatever, and use things in an individual way. But you would need much more space. But this is like a scaled down version of that. So as I was saying, yeah, the mixers are actually now inside the the mixers are inside the computers.
Yes, Gerald.
Like inside the. Anyway, I mean, I'm trying to explain it, but I mean, this is what I can say is that this is something that has been kind of born out of me wanting to still do gigs, or it was like needs must kind of thing, you know. It's something that I've over the years. I mean, I used to get laughed at by some people because I would turn up with an pt6 and like 5 IS 950s or S1000s and think that was portable. You know, and then someone would turn up with a laptop at the same time. I'm talking about like 2000, probably 2001, something like that. And yeah, I thought that was really cool because I sampled all my drum machines and I put them in the pt6 and I got all my strings and sounds in the samplers. That was the future. Anyway, so this is what that's boiled down into, that situation. But there are people, some people that like want you to sweat, so they want all the knobs and bells and whistles, and you know. But like you can do similar things. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should try and play some stuff for you. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm sick of hearing my voice. I could sing too, do an a cappella. So let me see, what could we, I'll just play, I don't know. Similar to how a DJ would probably do the beat matching thing. I've got it a little bit easier because all this stuff is pretty tight. So like all I do is I type in the BPM and then I've got to get it on the mark and then like it's in, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a little bit like dancing in a way, you know what I mean? But I tend not to try to sync things up because it's already mechanical.
So you've got 2 instances of regions, right?
I've got two regions going on. Totally separate. There's no syncing going on between them at all. It's all like so. Like
the Rainbox has got 2 USB engines, hasn't it? It can run two computers because it has 2 USB inputs. You've got like 2 engines going through.
Yeah, basically, this mixer has 2 sound cards built into it, like USB sound cards, and a really beautiful. Almost analog kind of filter. This is a totally digital mixer, by the way, and like everything that I'm doing is totally digital. Has been since the 80s.
What percentage of stuff is streams and what percentage is live?
Sorry?
How much of it is streams that you got on Reason and how much of it is live?
Streams?
Yeah, like so have you got... Hello?
It's sequenced, yeah. There's
so it's sequenced. So
it's sequenced, yeah. It's sequenced.
Audio files then?
No.
Right.
No, I mean, like the thing about audio files, I don't know. If you move them around, I'm not sure. I'm really old-fashioned, but like if you move them around in time, won't they start to distort and stuff? Yeah. Like, I know, like people that have used Ableton, actually I don't tell you what artist it is, but I've seen an artist once and they, most of them they do like 1 hour gigs. So they've got like this 1 hour sound file like this. And like you're playing like just after them, and I'm like, oh, I'm not ready yet, you know. Can you play a bit more, please? I've just got to go to the toilet. But yeah, but like, so like if you stretch some of them files, especially the lower frequencies, start to kind of get this like weird kind of rumbly, crusty thing that happens. Like, you know, and so I basically from, like, I learned from this little kid in a studio. His name was Lee Monteverdi. He was a guy that helped me to do Voodoo Ray, actually. He did it in this studio called Moonraker in Manchester. And he's, actually, I think he was a Pet Shop Boys fan. And he was into, like, cleaning fucking everything, you know what I mean? Like, we had 16 channels, like, to record with. And he had, like, a separate channel for every single thing. You know, like, sort of hi-hats and everything. And he would gate the hi-hats and basically make sure everything was really clean before we would record all that down on a tape before like we started to treat anything or EQ or anything. So everything, the first thing was getting everything on tape, but as clean as possible. And then after we got it on tape as clean as possible, then we could start to treat it. Because like, if you imagine if there was a little hiss or a nip or something at the end of a hi-hat or a snare, that would be like amplified during the mix in the process of trying to, you know, add reverb or whatever you do to it. So like basically the first process was to get everything as clean as possible. So I've kind of taken that kind of as my kind of gospel, like try and keep everything as separate as possible. Some things I can't keep it, you know, like break beats and stuff like that. But even though I still try and keep it like in reason. There's this program. It's called. It's not Redrum. It's I'm selling reason to people, you know. Dr. Rex. But it's just, I mean, I use this all the time. It comes with me on the aeroplane. It comes with me everywhere. And like, you know, it's called Dr. Rex or Dr. Octorex, right? And like basically, like in the early days, this company Propellerheads, that they had this other program called Recycle, and that used to work really well with what's it called, Akai. You know, you could throw stuff across. You know what I mean? And like, so this was like, you know, as well as like the time stretching, you had this thing, so it would key group stuff for you basically. So you could just like have these things in separate kind of places and do, or, you know. So I was bang into that, you know, like, because I mean before that I was doing the key grouping stuff, but like this program was doing a lot of stuff for you. So that's how I discovered like these people, and I wasn't using a computer for anything else but doing that at first. And also I bought like a Soundtracks quartz desk, and like it had a thing so I could sync my desk with the pt6. So I would like basically try. That was in the early days of me locking stuff together. For me, this is an expansion of that.